Welcome to the Howell Business Beat, where we spotlight the leaders and ideas driving Livingston County forward. I'm Janelle Smith, president of the Howell Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined by my co-host, Diane Samples.
Hello, everyone.
We are excited to be here with Caitlin Wilkinson. She is the owner and girl boss extraordinaire of Inspired Ascend. Caitlin is doing amazing things as an entrepreneur. We met Caitlin a few years ago, and it's amazing to just see the amount of growth and just kind of take a bit of a side, journey with you as you've completed this journey. So, and really like this whole transformation, right? So I don't want to steal your thunder, but I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and just share a little bit about who you are.
Yes. Who am I? So I guess over the last few years, that has been like the thing, right? So I've figured out really who I am through creating Inspired Ascend. And Inspired Ascend started off as it was just going to be me facilitating breathwork. And it turned into bringing all the facets of my life into one business, into one funnel, which has grown to be bigger. And now I'm having to divide it up again. So, it's interesting the things that happen when you're not trying, right? So I do breathwork and Reiki and work with people one-on-one for personal growth, but then I also have this business background. So I'm also working with individuals on business strategy and branding, and offering administrative assistant services as well. So, and then now we have Girl Dinner too. So
tell us a little bit about Girl Dinner.
Yeah. So Girl Dinner is something that was kind of in my mind even before my business was. So I always wanted to create a space where women could come together and have very real conversations over a meal. Because I felt like food is such a connecting way. And I worked in hospitality for many, many years. I was a bartender for 15 years. So I just really like that piece of sitting down at a table and just snacking and talking not just about how the weather is and, your family, but how are you, and how are you doing? And maybe shedding a tear or having those very real moments with people unmasked rather than keeping it surface level. So through the development of my business, I got to a point where I was feeling strong enough to pull the Band-Aid off and just kind of do it. And the first event was centered around domestic violence awareness, because that's kind of how the thought came about 10 years ago. I left a physically abusive relationship, and the way that I was able to make it through all of that was because of community. So that was the birth of Girl Dinner. Yeah,
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. So how often do you do these?
It's quarterly.
Quarterly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now we've done 2. We're coming up on the 3rd one, hopefully in June.
It's exciting. You're going to have to get us the date, because I know Diane and I were both talking about going, and it had fallen off our radar the last time, but it sounds like just an amazing community of women, and just what an incredible and inspired story.
And just you yourself, just from the point where we first met you back in 2022, I think it was.
Yeah, 21 or 22 probably.
It was our first
22.
I think it was 22.
The first.
I just
started
Sparkle and
Stride.
Stride. It was the first Sparkle and Stride, and I had just had my baby, so I was just back to work, and then I was just a wonderful, joyful tear fest.
And to today, just the confidence and just the strength that you exude, it really is inspiring. And I remember you stood up in that audience and you asked your question, and I can't remember exactly what it was around, but you had everyone in tears in the audience. It was such an inspired thought that you brought to the panel, but it made everybody just sit and reflect, and they were all able to resonate with that.
Well, it was an inspired thought, but it was also a moment of sincere and authentic vulnerability.
Yeah, because I was terrified.
You were
Terrified. Yeah.
And that was a big group of people
Yeah.
too, to kind of speak your truth.
Yeah.
And it was
So since then, we've been able to kind of watch your journey from afar and watch how you've evolved. So, like, you took a really bold and courageous step. What led you to that?
Yeah. It was hard. Really, really hard. It's so funny. So years ago, I was in Mary Kay, right? And they would always talk about like having vision and clarity and like the quantum leap, right? And I always was very confused and almost like irritated by that. But at that point in my life, when I did decide to take the leap for my business, I completely understood what it was about. And I was terrified. And really what it was like a culmination of various different things. And I think ultimately what pushed me to make the decision to start Inspired Ascend and get an LLC and do all the things was that I was unwilling to live a life not on my own terms any longer. So I really had fought through the years to, I worked in various different roles and industries, and I was kind of like done, like I was like, I want to do what I want to do. I am learning that I have the ability. And even though I was a little shaky on that ability, I was still like ready to start believing in myself. And so I was like, what better way? And there was like other things that came along, I did some hypnotherapy and some breath work, and it really helped me to connect with like my strength, I guess, to be able to make that decision.
So was it through the breath work and through some of the modalities that you leveraged that helped you identify how and what you wanted to do in the world and how you wanted to make that difference? Like what drove you to kind of design your business the way you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, first and foremost, those modalities did absolutely make a difference, specifically the breath work. I'd done talk therapy, EMDR therapy, various different things. And I think I did what most people did. I really defaulted to this like self-sabotage mindset where that was my comfort zone, like not believing in myself and putting myself down and having negative self-talk was really like the thing that was comfortable for me. And it wasn't until I experienced breath work for the first time that I was able to break through that like neurological pathway, which I think is crazy for some people to hear because they're like, how? And it's kind of hard to put into words, right? That could maybe be another podcast episode. But that's really what happened for me. Like in that breathwork session that I experienced, I had like the real connection to that. I could walk the walk and I could talk the talk and I could believe in the things that I wanted and that I deserved to have them and I was worthy of having them.
I have a question because I am that person that has a hard time with that breath work. So is it, because I'm not a still person. So is it in that moment when you are doing that self-doubt talk or you have that self-sabotaging thoughts? Is that when you bring in that breath work and that's when you have that moment, maybe find that moment of clarity? Or is it just through continued practice and it's just an exercise?
Yes.
When you are falling into that default.
Yeah. So your thought process of what breathwork is what most people think it is, right? Like pranayama, the old school, like sit down, take a few breaths, bring yourself back to yourself. What I experienced and what I facilitate is conscious breathing. So you're actually pushing yourself into a activated state, right? So you're activating your nervous system in a period of time with a breathwork pattern. So you're basically triggering fight or flight. Okay. So that's how you're able to rewrite that neurological pathway. So it's not something that you would sit and do like in your office. I would highly not recommend that. It's something that you want to be like with someone who is able to be with you and to help you through the things that are going to come up, right? Because you're going to break down walls between your conscious and subconscious mind and things that are living in your body that we don't give a discharge for. So like simple things, like you got in an argument with your partner and you didn't say the thing that you wanted to say, right? Because that's just sometimes not appropriate, right? And sometimes that just gets locked in your body, and you need a place for it to go. And then sometimes there can be bigger things like trauma. So for me, I had a lot of trauma in my background. Like I said, from my relationship, and then also some things from childhood. And that helped with the belief that, or that helped me rewrite that belief, is that practice, because I was able to basically, it's kind of like a filing cabinet, you know, you're breathing and you pull that file out and you're like, okay, what am I going to do about this? You know, and you are at a level, right, that comfort where you want to stay comfortable all the time. Your brain wants to stay comfortable all the time. But when you sit in that discomfort, when you pull that file out and you're like, this is that traumatic thing that happened to me. It's really uncomfortable and I'm going to sit in it. I'm going to actually re-experience it. I'm going to rewrite how I feel about it. And I'm going to build a resilience around it. And so that's really like the breath work that is transformational for me, right? There is daily breath work that obviously is helpful, but the conscious breathing patterns.
I have a question
Sure,
about that.
sure, yeah.
Because I do practice meditation.
Okay, yeah.
And so that is more of like what that daily breath work would be, is what I imagine.
Yep.
But it helps, like I do it in a way because I want to get out of fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you're talking about like instigating fight or flight.
In a controlled environment.
In a controlled environment. So when
Yeah.
you say controlled environment, somebody's guiding you through this?
Ideally, right? Yeah. So there's either a one-on-one or in a group session. So like when I hold a group session, there's never more than 10 people in the group.
Probably not good for like a team building exercise.
It could be. Okay. Yeah. No, it could.
Where are you going with this now?
It could be. There are people that facilitate breath work on like a, what's the word, corporate level. So it is something that is
Sign us.
Yeah, and you can gauge, right? Like it doesn't have to be like super deep.
I'm mildly afraid.
You don't want to cry in front of people.
Oh, it's not that. It's what might come out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We
Yeah.
facilitate an open and honest environment here. It's part of our core values.
Yeah.
So
So you should do it.
Yeah, there could. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, it's just. Yeah, it's one of those things. As you're talking about that, I'm thinking, oh wow, that really opens up. Talk about being vulnerable, because you really don't know what could come out.
100%.
I mean, because I would imagine that there's people that maybe have traumas, and I mean, again, trauma means something different to different people.
Yeah.
So may have different levels of trauma that maybe they don't even realize they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that so? When you go into a session like this, I mean, you may be opening up some doors that you never even knew existed that needed to be opened.
It's not like something you're going to walk into that you want to have an intention for, right? So like what you're talking about and what you're talking about, you might want to set an intention to. And I also want to mention that the type of work, breath work that you're talking about, or meditation, is kind of like a bottom up thing, right? So what we're talking about is top down. Okay. So we're bringing you into your body. And this is where, like, to bring it back to like how I got to be, like, to connect with your authentic self and to trust yourself intuitively in the things that you feel in your body. I'm very led by like how things feel in my body. I couldn't start to trust those feelings until I knew that it was the truth, you know, through breath work and building that relationship with my body, like somatically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you just brought me back to an earlier point you made about feeling worthy.
Yeah.
And knowing your worth and your value.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about like that experience and kind of what that meant to you, and how you have, I'm assuming, helped other people step into that awareness? And then what is it like for you to be a part of that?
Yeah. So for me, I'll start with me. So I think where I got was that I was more of a people pleaser than I really had any idea about. I really used to think like I didn't care what anybody thought, but I really did care, really, like a lot. And so for me, my authentic self was starting to make choices that really aligned with the things that I wanted in life and not what everybody else wanted for me. And that looked really different than what, you know, maybe my family or the people that were close to me thought my life would look like, right? for example, I don't have children and I've never had a desire to have children. And I fully support anybody, you know, obviously that wants to do that. But it was just something that never felt like I could verbalize, right? And so as it pertains to like my worth, I think it was that piece that I started believing in the things that I wanted as being obtainable, not as just a distant memory, right? Or a distant dream rather. And so, and then through the hypnotherapy and working through certain incidences that made me realize like how I got there, right? So in the hypnotherapy, it was like, it would take you to certain times exactly when that thing started, right? So when did I start not believing in myself? You know, it was like a childhood thing, right? And so then it was like, okay, now that I have the awareness of that, how do I change it? And the difference was that I needed to put action, right? Like so many people talk about manifesting. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to manifest my dream future. But really, none of that was going to happen until I started putting action behind what those manifestations were. So it was like, there wasn't ever going to be any growth without action. And so that's where my journey started. And so what I try to take to other people is like, let's start with knowing yourself. What are the things that you truly want? What are your core values? What are the things that are hindering you or you feel are hindering you? Where does the self-sabotage come from if that is an issue for you? And how do you build trust with yourself and your body? And so this is also an important time to say that what I teach may not be for everybody, right? Because maybe not everybody is led by what they feel in their body. And so I've maybe encountered like a couple of people where like, okay, this isn't working, you know, thanks, have a great day, you know, but it's also important to be able to take that kind of feedback as a practitioner and say, you know what, I don't think this is working for you. And I think that I have, you know, these other people that I could recommend for you to see, you know. But.
And I think that's amazing that you've cultivated that and you have that referral network that you can still support them in a really productive way, but recognizing that they're probably not going to make the progress that they need to. Right. It was interesting because we were talking at the beginning of this conversation, maybe in the bloopers, but just a little bit about one of your, was it either a goal or like a boundary that you set this year about control?
Control, yeah.
And so I find that intriguing, just given like when you are doing these modalities and therapies, I make the natural assumption that you have to have an open mind about them in order for them to be productive. And a lot of the times control negates that.
Yeah.
So I just, I was just curious, like how, you know, that's something that you plan to work towards and manage. And, and how do you work with your clients in that way?
Yeah. So with breathwork specifically, sometimes, you know, people can be going through something that is very painful to watch as a practitioner, right? So they're processing through a really hard emotion or trauma or whatever is coming up. And our go-to that we're taught is that we want to, like, what do you do with a crying baby? Like, oh, no, shh, like, don't. And what I really have to do is hold their hand and say, this is okay, I'm here with you. And, like, we're going to make it through this to the other side. And it's hard because you really want someone to get to the other side, right? But I can't take them there. And so I can't walk into a one-on-one or a room full of people and say, I'm going to create a safe space for you here, because that's not what I am there to do. They're there to create the safe space for themselves. And they have to do that in their body, in their work, and they have to make choices, right? So like if things are getting too intense, or if they're experiencing something where they're feeling like it's too much, they have to choose to back out. I cannot tell someone to back out, you know? So in that, to answer your question, in that line of control, it has really helped me, because you really have to like stand back and watch and just hold the space and allow things to unfold. So it's hard. Yeah. And it's made me a better person in life, because
absolutely coming from somebody who needs to figure that out.
Yeah, because that's just what fascinates me is that, again, from someone who has a hard time like being still, That is very, very difficult for me. I mean, I tap my leg. I'm always, something is always moving. Yeah. A lot of times maybe it's just my mind that's moving.
And that's welcome in breathwork.
But
I tell you to move.
But the whole concept that the breathwork takes you to that space of almost, it has to be relaxation to a point because that's where you let go.
Afterwards, probably. Yeah.
I get it really fascinates me, the whole concept of the breath work and how it can take you to such inner spaces.
Yeah. Really deep inner
spaces that, again, for many people, maybe they don't even realize.
Yeah.
It goes how deep it goes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just, it really is something that, I'm very interested in it. It just fascinates me.
Yeah, it is. So I'm so excited that you were able to just share some highlights on the work you do. I wanted to talk about your training a little bit because you just went through this and you're like, I'm just gonna do these things. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So like specifically with breathwork, how did I get there? Like,
like you found the courses, you did the thing, you just went for it.
Yeah. So my training, I did my first breathwork and then I immediately sought out a coach, right? Because I was like, I want to do this. So I found someone to work with me one-on-one for 3 months. And that was right after I took a course online through Wim Hof, which some people, like, if you know who breathwork is, they're probably laughing because they're like, oh, Wim Hof, like he's like this crazy Dutch guy that teaches people how to breathe so that they can do the cold plunges and climb this mountain half naked in Poland.
You had me a crazy Dutch guy.
Yeah, he's great. Okay. He's great. Right, me too. I was sold too. So I was like,
we could do the cold plunge.
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah, the breath work helps. Exactly. Yeah. So I worked with the coach for 3 months and then I did the hypnotherapy and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I sat with creating my first offering or workshop. And it's called Shedding Shame, and started offering that and then started taking people one-on-one and doing a monthly workshop as well. So, yeah.
And you do retreats as well.
Yeah, I've done a couple of retreats with a close friend of mine. I guess we could call her my business partner, Emily. And it's like a women's retreat. We do it in the winter and it's usually centered around yoga, breath work. We try to do a cold plunge, sauna, and then winter hiking. So we just kind of bundle everybody up and we just go out into the woods, and we'll pick you back up in an hour, kind of thing.
You let them go. You guys stay warm.
Yeah, no, we stay outside too.
Okay,
we have experience in the cold, so we're just we'll just go sit under a tree somewhere and watch everybody wander around. But it's forest bathing,
right?
Yeah, and a lot of people do not do that, so it's really, really beautiful. Every time everybody comes back and the things that they have to share about what they experience in the woods by themselves, especially in the winter with the snow and the silence, and it's really cool. So. Yeah, and then I just started offering breathwork at other people's retreats as well. So I'm for hire.
Love it. Love it. That is really amazing. So kudos to you and all that you've accomplished in, really 4 short years, 5
4
short
years.
Yeah, it's been real quick.
I started my business in 2023.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so even shorter.
Yeah.
But that is just absolutely amazing. But it really feels and this is part of the reason why I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to connect on our podcast, is to really just elevate you and your journey of entrepreneurship, because that is remarkable. I mean, this is just crazy and just absolutely amazing to see how you've grown. So you've grown personally and professionally, and you've taken that personal growth and molded it into a business model that really casts such a net to make a significant change in the world and to have such positive impact. So that is something that you should be incredibly proud of. I'm proud of you, just
Thank you.
sitting here and knowing you and where you started. So it is awesome. And I know that you were at Sparkle and Strive, and you've been engaged with us through Athena. So that's how we've kind of had this sideline to your journey. This is just so special to hear all of this, because I knew some of it in my peripheral, but to see and hear it from you is just even that much sweeter. So, share a little bit about why you decided to get engaged with Sparkle and Strive and Athena, and why you've stayed engaged.
Yeah, so that starts at Casa de Bella. So I, through my divorce, I was working like 3 or 4 jobs, and one of them was at the front desk at Casa de Bella. And the short version of the story is that COVID hit and nobody was working, right? And so I was trying to do some things before COVID happened to kind of like help with organization around Casa and, just really show that I wanted to be there and I really wanted to be a part of their growth. And, I loved Clee and Cookie, the owners. And so then COVID happened. And before we came back, or right after we came back, they asked me to be the manager. And so I was like, okay, so pumped, to be so excited to be in a leadership role and to, just be a part of their salon business, because I really had a belief in them as people because they had this huge heart for their employees. And, they had taken a step back kind of from the chamber and being involved. And I was like, I'm going to start going to the meetings, I'll get out of the office. I'll, get to meet. So I think I came to a new member meeting first, and then went to another networking thing. And I was like, all right, I'm in, and Sparkle and Strive came up. And because of what it was about, I was like, this is perfect for Casa de Bella to be a part in, to be sponsor, it's for women and growth and all the things that Clee and Cookie stood behind for their salon business and from the community. And I just was like, we're going to this thing. They were like, okay, we're going to be sponsors, and we got tickets. And it just so happened that when Sparkle and Strive happened, we were really kind of at a culminating point in my journey at Casa de Bella, where I was learning a lot about being a leader, and it was hard. It was really hard. And I learned a lot, and it was painful, but also very much a part of my growth and where I am right now, right? So I don't regret any of it. I definitely made mistakes, for sure. And I really I think it's worth saying too, that I owe so much of where I'm at right now to Clee and Cookie too. They really took their belief in me is why I started believing in me. And they invested not just time, but also money into my growth. They paid for me to take yoga teacher training. They paid for me to take a digital marketing course at MSU. And it was so much more than even I know my family believes in me, but they had never been able to back me in that way. So they really showed me that I was worth, those things. And so when it came to the point where what I felt is I outgrew the staff, not Clee and Cookie in the business, but I feel like I outgrew the staff, where I was bringing things to the table where people were like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, I think I need to take a step away from this. And that's when I was really ready to start my business. That was not an easy choice to make, and a really, really emotional one for, I think, all of us. But they were supportive of me, and they've always been supportive of me. Clee came to my first retreat. They had a huge role to play in my wedding. Cookie collects rocks on the shores of Michigan and polishes them, and we use them in our wedding ceremony. Because I think the relationship between her and Butch is just such a beautiful love story, and they've grown this beautiful family. So they are woven into the tapestry of my life. I mean, that's how I truly feel about it. And I just owe so much to them. And I forgot what the question is. But
it's so just kind of engaging in Athena, but that was a beautiful story. So I'm so glad it led us there.
So anyways, that first Sparkle and Strive was that was how it started, was okay, yeah, this is what I want to be a part of, right? And not just in Livingston County, but just in a community. And I've learned so much from you guys too, so much about event coordination and just how to manage people in that way. And now I have my own committee and girl dinner, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without the two of you, truly. And just, you are both such a great example of how to manage that with grace and like patience, and how to. I think it is a lesson actually in control. I don't know. You guys are saying you're control freaks. I don't think so. Because you really have to be open to other people's ideas. And when you have a vision, that's hard sometimes. But I think in being a part of Sparkle and Strive and now Athena, it was like, that was a huge thing, is that there's always space for like my ideas. Even if it didn't follow through, they were always like acknowledged, and, you know.
Well, and I think that's the whole premise of Athena, is that it's women uplifting other women, and it's empowering them to have those ideas. And we all have ideas that may never come to fruition or may never go anywhere except where they're spoken, but that's okay, because that's just, I mean, that is just that talking it through and figuring out what's the right way to go, and having that support and knowing that, you know, you can share ideas and it's okay if not everybody agrees with your idea, or if your idea is not maybe the best idea for that purpose, but it's just uplifting, and it's making everybody have a voice and realizing that what they have to say is important and what they do is important.
Well, keeping that bigger goal in mind of like, we are here to connect with one another, to really create a community of women and leadership and empowerment and authenticity and all
real
of those,
collaboration.
Yes, real collaboration, all of those things. And so that's, I think, really amazing that your journey kind of, you know, culminated at the start of Sparkle and Strive, and then has progressed in just an amazing story. So I appreciate you taking the time to share that today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've got some different ideas now percolating. I hope other people do too. But kudos to all of you and all the hard work that you've put in up until this point. I know that there's still so much ahead of you. It sounds like you've got just an incredible foundation of transformation and transforming the lives of others. So thanks again, and we will catch you guys next time on the How Will Business Be?